What is up, everybody? Mr. Curtis here. Welcome to our first part on World War I. And just a reminder, World War I, when it's being fought, is called the Great War because in order to have a World War I, you need a World War II. And when they're fighting World War I, they definitely do not think World War II is going to happen. So oftentimes you'll see in sources this is referred to as the Great War. So World War I, aka the Great War, 1914 to 1918. This video is more of a review. A lot of this stuff we will have talked about and done stuff in class, but in case you want to look back before a test or look back before the regents, and this is also a great topic to write a thematic essay on. Oftentimes there's thematic essays on conflict, and this falls very much in line with that. So 1914 to 1918, let's just do a little quick review. Four main causes of World War I, M-A-I-N. M stands for militarism, building up of people's military, and when these countries build up their military, it leads to really a lot of distrust between countries. Why are you building up your military if we're not friends with each other? I got to build up my military. Then I build up my military, and you say, oh, I got to build up mine a little more. So we have this building up. Second is A, which is alliances. We have two basic alliances that have formed prior to World War I. Eventually, when the war breaks out, they're going to be called the Allies and the Central Powers, which is Britain, France, and Russia here versus Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. These three countries are called the Central Powers because they are in the central part of Europe, and they have Britain, France, and Russia here on either side, kind of the main players. Also, we have imperialism, so militarism, alliances, imperialism. Imperialism is an issue because there's nowhere left in the world really to conquer. So if you're Germany, for example, and you want to obtain more colonies, and you really don't have anywhere else to claim, if you, in your mind, if you defeat France, you can then conquer France's colonies. So it's one of the motivations for war here. Also, we have nationalism, which is the idea that you need to prove you're the best. If you're French, the French, you don't like the Germans don't like the French. The only way really to prove that you're better than them is to fight and defeat them in war. So this nationalist ideology plays into it where we think the Germans, we don't trust them, we don't believe what they say, we know that they're looking to attack us, so therefore we need to do something about it. So that's the four causes. And then again, the spark is this assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who is right here. He and his wife, who have traveled to Serbia, they're from Austria-Hungary. They traveled to an area which is mainly Serbian people, and within their empire who want to be part of Serbia. They're assassinated in this region, and as a result of this, it leads to war declared by Austria-Hungary on Serbia, which leads to the Russians getting involved, and then we have all heck breaks loose here with all these different countries and the alliances playing out. So militarism, alliances, imperialism, nationalism, the assassination is the spark, boom, World War II starts, and this is kind of the end result as war breaks out. We do have two countries that join a little late, Italy and Japan. Both of them join on the side of the Allies, so they join on the side of the British, the French, and the Russians. They join about a year into the war in 1915. So they're a little late to the party, but they are promised land. The Allies want them on their side, and they think that having these two countries come into the war can help them win, and they promise them land. So just kind of keep this in the back of your mind. As the war comes to an end, these two countries are going to ask for the land they were promised, and they're not going to get it, which is going to be an issue in the grand scheme of things. So this kind of cartoon pops up a lot. Who's to blame for this war? Who really caused it? And everyone, all these countries, whether it's Belgium, England, Russia, Austria, Serbia, they're all blaming each other for this hand of God pointing at the death of the peace of Europe. And Europe's really been at peace for the most part since Napoleon's rule, so 100 years. This war is going to be a brutal, hard-fought, deadly war. And there's two fronts or two places where World War I is going to be fought. One part is going to be called the Western Front. And the Western Front is primarily going to be on the border between Germany and France. And this is the Western Front right here. It's very bloody. It's going to be called trench warfare. Again, should be a review from class where we have these trenches where we dig these holes into the ground and we fight. So this is be Trench A and Trench D. So we're going to try and conquer Trench D. So we have to send all our soldiers and go across this no man's land to try and conquer D from the Germans. So this would be the French and the British. This is the Germans. They blow the whistle. We run across this field and we try and conquer this trench. If we conquer this trench, the Germans have a whole nother trench back here that they retreat back to. So we're literally fighting this war living underground and in these trenches. And this is what the trenches look like. Barely enough room for people's for these soldiers' heads to not be protruding or coming out of it. We're literally living underground in these trenches on the Western Front. And it's not just a year war. We're talking 2, 3, 4, 4.5 years of fighting in these trenches, which is horrible. And what really makes this so deadly, especially on the Western Front, is we have these new technologies that are designed to kill people and designed to effectively win the war. And sometimes war brings about new technology to help speed the war and the process along and attempt to win. So we have tanks are going to be invented. We have airplanes, not airplanes to drop bombs yet. That doesn't come until World War II, but airplanes to search out enemy areas. We also have flamethrowers, good to destroy brush or areas that limit our soldier or troop movement. We have grenade launchers, German U-boats, which are Unterseeboots, which is the German word for submarine, which are going to be very deadly in hitting American supply ships that are coming to Britain. We also have machine guns. This is going to be the worst for trench warfare because as soldiers, coming back here for a second, as soldiers are coming out of this trench running across, there are going to be machine gunneries, machine gunneries? Sure. Guys shooting machine guns who are going to be just annihilating soldiers coming across. So you're going to hear stories of thousands upon thousands of soldiers being killed in a matter of 30 minutes from machine gun fire because to run across this field with machine gun firing at you is basically a suicide mission. We also have poison gas, which is going to be used by the Germans. I like this picture because some dogs are going to be used to sniff out the poison gas, but they still give them gas masks. There's also another side of this. So the Western Front is going to be over here. The Eastern Front is between Germany and Russia. This is not fought in trenches. This is a little more open space, but this area right here is cold. It is going to be mainly fought in freezing temperatures between the Russians and the Germans. The big problem that Russia is going to face, and this is going to come up a little bit later, is Russia is not industrialized. Germany is industrialized. So Germany has these machine guns, these tanks, these better weapons, and Russia is really still kind of about 100 years behind. So their weapons are behind. They also don't have enough clothing for their soldiers. So a lot of their soldiers have holes in their, whether it's their boots or their jackets. And this is cold weather they're living in. So a lot of Russian soldiers are going to die from gangrene and from frostbite and just from the elements, where the German soldiers have more clothing coming in from their factories when the Russians don't. Anyway, so the Russians are going to have this horrible time if they're going to lose 2 million troops eventually, and not to give too much away here, but the Russians are eventually going to leave this war in 1917, which is more getting into the next unit. But the whole key to this is a lot of soldiers are going to die. We have two fronts, the Western Front, which is trench warfare, the Eastern Front, which is between Russia and Germany. Germany is eventually going to win, spoiler alert, on the Eastern Front, which is going to allow them to mobilize their troops to the Western Front, bring them all from the Eastern Front to the Western Front. So coming back one more time here on our map, Western Front, Eastern Front, Russia and Germany are going to fight along this front for 3 years. When Russia eventually leaves this war, it allows Germany to bring all their soldiers over here. And luckily for the Allies, another country is going to come in. Come here for a sec. Come here. Come here. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Can you wave? What's your name?
Casey.
Can you say, what is up, everybody?
What is up?
Say, Grace Rupertus here. Say, teaching you about World War I. All right, cool. Can you say peace?
Peace.
Say, if you have any questions, write it down. Can you say that? Good try. All right. Bye.